you can see that the more you disagree with the statement that life is fair, the more you want to, the more supportive you are of government intervention. So this is, as you would expect, people who think that life is unfair are the ones who want the government to do something about inequality more. Okay, so this is what is happening, in accordance with their intuition. Now this is actually very interesting. So this is saying that, so again, let's interpret this. This means that people who disagree with the statement that large income differences are necessary for economic growth, 85%, more than 85% of them are supportive of government intervention. But surprisingly, even those who strongly agree and agree with the statement that large income differences are needed for growth, even those, a large percentage of them are supportive of government intervention. So what does this mean? This is indicative of the fact that people see income differences as necessary for growth, but it's a cost, that is, the reduction in growth is a cost that they're willing to bear in order to reduce inequality. Okay. This is what this is telling you. This side is, it's obvious. If you don't think that inequality is important for growth, yes, okay, the government should do something about it. But the government should do something about it even if it's necessary for growth. So this is not an inconsistent view. Okay? This is not inconsistent. You might think it is, but it's not. It's simply saying the costs of inequality reduction, that is a reduction in growth, are less than the benefits of inequality reduction. Okay? This is a straw man argument, not straw man, this is a logical fallacy that you often see in arguments about inequality. People say, oh, but inequality is good for growth. Yes, of course it's good. As you said, it's good for growth, but its benefits, the benefits of inequality might be less than the costs of inequality, or vice versa. The benefits of reducing inequality might be larger than the costs of reducing inequality. And this is clearly the case in terms of what people think here. Okay. But here we come to a further interesting point. But we must be a little bit cynical also as economists about how people feel about inequality reduction. So, who are the people who most want inequality reduction? Well, these are the people who are poorest. Okay. So this is what this is telling. Amongst those who earn 5,000 and below, whose monthly household income is 5,000 and below, support for government intervention is very, very high. It's much less for higher income levels. Okay. So there's a certain sense in which actually maybe views about inequality reduction are self-serving. Okay. So I want to talk very briefly about this concept of the veil of ignorance. This is an old philosophical concept. It's very, very old. It comes from the times of Locke and so on. Okay. Basically what this means is that when we make moral judgments, we should try as hard as possible to abstract away, to step back from our current position. Of course, if you're rich now, you're going to probably feel like, well, you're going to try to think up of reasons, knowingly or unknowingly, why it's not good for the government to take money away from you. If you're poor now, you're going to knowingly or even unknowingly think up of reasons why it's good for the government to give money to you. Okay. Now, this doesn't have to be a very cynical decision. It could be unconscious. It could be something that just happens to you. That's our human nature. When we make moral judgments, we should try very hard to not do this, to step back and say, what would I choose? What society would I want to live in if I didn't know where I was going to end up in that society? This is the concept of the veil of ignorance. A veil is like a cloth. When you look at, when you make the decision, you have to put a cloth between you and where you actually are in society now, whether you're rich or poor now. You have to imagine that you were choosing from a position where you didn't know. So for example, this is something that people are asked to do in many surveys. We didn't do it for this survey because it's slightly different. The focus is slightly different. But suppose you were asked to choose within a hypothetical society, not your society, hypothetical society, where you could end up either as A, B, or C with equal probability. If you become A, you get $10,000. B, you get 8,000. C, you get 6,000. Versus a society where everybody is equal. Everybody gets 8,000. What would most choose? It turns out that most people in this scenario choose the other society where everybody gets 8 out. Because people don't like this risk of ending up poor and ending together with people who are rich. Okay? So, what I'm saying here is that because of these self-serving biases that people form, we need to be careful we need to try to be as pure as possible when we think about these issues. Okay? So let's not take the responses of people, what people just say, too much at face value. We need to dig a little bit deeper, as I showed you here. Okay? Now, very interestingly, very, very recently, just last month, I don't know, it was reported in some news outlets, but there was some research done by these academics in the UK. One of them used to be a professor here at NTU. I think he moved on to greener pastures. He's not dead. They looked at lottery winners in the UK. Now, some people, rich people, tend to think that, oh, we should just keep our money, right? Because we earned it. We worked hard for it, and it's our money. Government should not touch it. But lottery winners are not like that. You don't work for lottery, right? When you win the lottery, it's completely by chance, by definition of a lottery. And yet, lottery winners significantly increase their support for right-wing politics and become significantly less egalitarian, so less supportive of efforts to reduce inequality, just because they won the lottery. This is what I mean by these self-serving biases. Okay? Just because you won the lottery, I mean, some of these, there's no reason why these people are bigots or idiots, right? No, they might be nice people, but knowingly or unknowingly, you end up convincing yourself that it's good not to redistribute resources. Or it's good for the government to just leave me alone. Just because you won the lottery, just because you have money. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay? Very important to not get into that fallacy, that bias. Just to wrap up, let me offer, so far I talked about the benefits and costs of inequality reduction. Okay. But actually, we can think of it in a different way also. So one way to interpret what we've seen is that, yes, indeed, the people have decided that, yes, the benefits of reducing inequality are worth the costs of reducing inequality. But another way to think about it is that even though the questions were all about income inequality, maybe what people really thought or wanted was a reduction in inequality of opportunities. So we have to distinguish these two concepts. It's a philosophical question here. What is the concept of inequality of outcome? How things pan out, how things end up, right? So income is an outcome. Some things happen to you in life and you end up earning more or less, right? But maybe what really people care about, and that's why we were talking about fairness at the beginning, is that we have equality of starting point, where we start off in life, and then where we make our decisions, and we do certain things, and we determine our paths in life. Of course, there's an element of luck in there, so maybe we can address that. But maybe this is what we really are after. And that's a pretty uncontroversial idea. If you ask people, are you in favor of equality of opportunities, it's very, very unlikely you will find somebody who says, no, I want unequal opportunities for all. Okay? No, people usually are supportive of equality of opportunities. So this is another interpretation that we can put on the desire for equality. People know that there are costs to inequality reduction, but it's not that they are willing to put up with those costs. It's more that they know that those costs are for reduction of inequality in outcomes. And they just want reduction in inequality of opportunities. Okay? Everybody to have an equal starting point in life, equal opportunities in life. Now, not so well, but there are actually serious problems in implementing this idea. Almost any attempt at reducing inequality of opportunities, creating equality of opportunities, will also affect outcomes, okay, in very serious and fundamental ways. So let me give you an example. This is one of many, many, many examples. If you study public finance, you will see many of these examples. Okay. So let's something as uncontroversial as higher education subsidies. Okay? So all governments all over the world do this. Okay? They give money to universities. Why? So as to reduce the cost of university education so that poorer people can go to university. Sounds laudable. Oh, great. Who could possibly be against this? Well, actually, there are people who are against this. But most people will be like, yeah, great. We want poorer people to go to university. Yeah. But actually, we need to be very careful. So, of course, it's true. If thanks to government subsidies, university education becomes cheaper, poorer people can afford to go. Previously could. Those individuals, indeed, the government is helping them. Right? They get better opportunities later on in life because now they have a university degree and they can get a better job. But who are the people who disproportionately go to university? It's richer individuals, it's middle class and above individuals. So if you make education cheaper for everybody, then it turns out that actually you might be benefiting the middle class a lot more than you're benefiting those students. Okay. Benefiting what sense? University education is cheaper, they have more money to spend on other things. So indirectly, the government is actually giving a transfer also to richer individuals. So it's not at all easy. I cannot possibly go into any more detail than this here, but it takes a whole course to see that it's like this in everything. It's easy to say we want equality of opportunities. It's almost impossible to achieve that without also incurring some costs. The very same costs which are involved in reducing inequality of outcome. Okay? Okay, thank you. Any questions? Creating policies, creating a system where this happens. Now, the way the welfare state is implemented doesn't involve just taking money from somebody and giving to others, okay? So I said this is one of the things that you end up learning in a course on public finance, but the other components, so the taking money away is always there, right? You need to finance whatever it is that the government is doing through taxes. It's the part where you give to somebody that is different. So you can either give in cash, okay, which I said has certain problems to do with self-esteem, moral self-worth, and so on. Has problems with incentives. But you can also just give certain services. So the government can provide education, can provide health care. So that's also part of the notion of the welfare state.
Anybody have any more questions? Okay, I understand that some of you all might be a bit shy to ask in front of so many people. So Professor Ko will be hanging around for a while. If you have any questions you want to ask him personally, you all can come down and ask us. Okay, so thank you, Professor Ko, for the insightful talk. In the meantime, okay, the next talk will start at 11:15 and it will be from the Division of Linguistic and Multilingual Studies on Do Young People Speak Worse Than Their Parents? Okay, so in the meantime, right, there is a tea break. Okay, please join us outside. Yeah. just outside here. There's food for everybody. Please come back by 11, before 11:15.